Hello and welcome into another video with me, Sky Fellowship. In today's episode, I'm going to be taking a look at Mina the Hollower and talking about how it might be my game of the year. It's obviously we're still in June and there's still a lot of games to come out and everything, but at this moment in time, this is kind of my forefront. There's Adventures of Elliot coming out, which I assume I'm going to love because for very similar reasons. It's kind of the whole 2D Zelda aspect of it, but at this moment in time, Mina the Hollower is the current favourite for me. I was really excited for this game to come out. I've been looking forward to it for a long time. I absolutely loved Yacht Club's first major hit, Shovel Knight. I never got around to finishing all the DLC. To be honest, I've played through the entire game and absolutely loved it. And I started the Plague Knight DLC and I was just like, I'm really not feeling this. I'm not really enjoying the gameplay. And I knew that every character was totally different, but I just still never got around to it because my broken brain was like, well, you can't go to Spectre or the King Knight if you haven't finished the Plague Knight. So I've kind of been waiting for another reason to jump back into a Yacht Club game for a while, and that was Mina the Hollower. And I grew up on The Legend of Zelda, on Castlevania. I absolutely love Elden Ring. It's one of my all-time favourite games. I'm not really that into Bloodborne. I've never managed to find it in a playable state where I could get through it. I'm kind of really hoping that eventually we'll get that remaster because I didn't really enjoy playing through it on the PS4 a bit. I ended up bouncing. I tried playing a PC version of it, which didn't run that great in places for me as well. So it's like I need this game to come out, hit 60 FPS, because at the very least it needs to be that for the eye problems and migraines that I have. 30 FPS is truly such a problem, not just from an input perspective, but from the fact that it causes me little pain. But anyway, all that to say, I'm really into Elden Ring, but not really into Bloodborne. And this game is a lot more Bloodborne than Elden Ring that I have heard of. And there were a lot of reasons, though, to be excited for it, to want it, and hilariously, I love this game for so many reasons that I didn't expect, and the things that I actually wanted the game for have kind of been the big letdowns. So I'm going to start with the fact that, first up, the map on this game is atrocious. I do not like it at all. I have multiple issues with memory due to severe pain, due to ADHD, due to complex PTSD. I have so many different things that cause memory issues, so if you don't give me a good map, I'm going to get lost. And I got lost so many times. There were times when I needed a key. Like, I'm on a second file here, obviously, and I will be discussing very late game stuff. I am going to be going into some pretty deep spoilers about things, so I should probably mention that, but I wanted my actual footage to just be, you know, basic at the start stuff. And I have already lost my train of thought, but we will continue. Thankfully seeing a key actually reminded me. So I found a pink lock, and it's just happened in this here. I found a lock and I needed a key for it, but I didn't have one. Now, I've got one here, so I'm going to do it. But I found this pink lock. I couldn't, for the life of me, remember how exactly to get there. So by the time I finally got a key, it took about 3 hours of getting back to it. And funnily enough, on the way to finding it, I found so many other things, I ended up spending all of the keys that I had. So I still managed to get there without a key. And I then had to run and find, like, I knew there was a shop where I could actually buy some, so I ran to do that and kind of went back there straight away before I forgot the route, and still struggled to get back. There's absolutely no navigation with the map or anything, because there's no way to do it. That when you finally get your map or anything, it's just a picture of the whole world. I'd honestly say that even Elden Ring had a more detailed map that was actually useful, to be honest, and it's one of the only things I dislike about that game is Elden Ring's map. But I got really lost in it. So that was one negative against it. Because of everyone saying this was like a Bloodborne Souls type game, I was expecting the combat and everything to be brutally difficult. It's really not. Like, if you are good at traditional 2D Zelda and you are petrified about playing this because you don't play Souls games, I'm genuine when I say this. Pretty much every strategy that you've came up against on Link's Awakening, Link to the Past, all of these great 2D Zeldas, you'll be able to do them in this. Like, the combat's a joke. I rarely struggled, and the amount of times that I found bosses where you could just stand there and quite literally spam your attack, not really needing to move or anything. The bosses do actually have patterns that you are supposed to learn, I didn't bother learning any of them because there was no point. Up until the actual final boss, where, like, very late game bosses, basically, you start to get some where they actually have some mechanics to them. So you can't just stand there and spam them, and you do have to learn. And when you finally start to get those bosses, it actually, for me, it felt like not so much a difficulty spike, because I was expecting bosses to be like this all the way through, and they weren't for me. I was expecting them that way, so it wasn't so much a difficulty spike as, oh, this is what I was waiting for. But at the same time, it then weirdly came off as a brutal difficulty spike, because I went from, oh, I can just stand here spamming my attacks and spamming my secondaries, because you get to the point where your trinket build is really good, and you can have some totally broken, overpowered ones. I went for only maneuverability trinkets because I was already finding combat that ridiculously easy. Add in the fact that by the time I got the ability to have a second, I can't remember the word now. I think it is just secondary. A secondary, basically. You can have some combos with the secondaries that I had a little imp out, and then I summoned 3 little ghosts, and it would just shred bosses. There wasn't much thought, planning, or difficulty in the bosses until suddenly there was, and then it came off as, wow, this is a bit of a difficulty spike. So again, these are all the things that, like, I actually expected to like about the game and went into it and ended up being a little disappointed about. But now comes the things that I wasn't expecting. I knew this was going to be like a 2D Zelda game. One of my all-time favourite Zeldas is Oracle of Seasons. And I've always loved Oracle of Seasons because I felt that it had the much better overworld puzzles. I think Mina the Hollower is probably the greatest overworld puzzles I've played in the game. No ifs, ands, or buts. There are some things that you do, like going to the bone sound area. You need to use bombs to blow things up. And the bombs are very finicky, and they've got a specific time, and there's specific rules and movements that you can do with those bombs. You, like, when you're carrying them, you can throw them and they won't explode, but you can't burrow with them. You have to figure out how to do a path of burrow, jump, throw, like, pick up the bomb, throw the bomb. Like, it's absolutely brilliant to get there all before the bomb blows up, and then to be able to direct the explosion. And sometimes you know that you have to be the explosion. Sometimes you have to get there with the bomb detonating in your hands. It's so much fun going through and solving some of these puzzles, these overworld things. The tools that it gives you when you get into the mirror world is so fucking fun. It's unbelievable. Some of the stuff that it has you doing, jumping through wormholes essentially and using trinkets and maneuverability, and it's brilliant. It really is. It's just absolutely fucking magnificent. It's one of my favourite overworlds in a game ever. From visual standpoint, from a music standpoint and everything, I love how it looks, I love how it sounds, I love so much about the game. It's unfucking believable. It's just that the combat really did let me down. Like, I know I've struggled with this here, and this isn't even a full boss. This is like one of those enemies. I swear to you, it's because I'm currently trying to talk and think about everything, and I'm not even looking at the screen half the time. When I realised that I died 3 times, I'm like, right, I really should actually, focus here, and just stood and attacked, and yeah. And that's pretty much all you need to do. Stand and attack. Maybe it's the weapon that I chose, which, I'll be honest, this is kind of the only one in the entire game I like. The Castlevania-style mace whip thing. I tried the shield, don't like it. I'm not into parrying, I'm not into blocking. It's my entire playstyle with games like these. And this is actually, I think, what part of the problem is with the bosses. I said this to someone when talking about Elden Ring before, and I feel it's very much true in any kind of Souls game like this. People are supposed to be terrified of the bosses, and it feels like games designers and developers design the boss's AI with that in mind, that the boss is supposed to think, oh, they're going to be scared of me, they're going to be backing away, they're going to be defending, and I just need to give them everything I've got. And that's not the actual fucking way I play. If you've ever seen Bleach, or read Bleach, I'm personally a huge fan of it. I've read through all the manga multiple times. I've watched all the anime. I'm currently really hyped up for the finale of the 1,000-Year Blood War arc that we're finally getting after such a long delay. But if you've ever watched it or read it, I'm Kenpachi Zaraki. That's my playstyle in games like this. As long as the enemy dies, I don't care if I have no health left. As long as I've felled my foe, and I get the win condition, that's fine with me. So I will just stand my ground and be so stubborn about it and wheel and wheel and wheel. And the amount of times that works in games like this, it's unbelievable. Because the bosses, I feel, are designed with the thought of, like, their AI algorithm is the player is going to be scared of you. And it allows it to go through the rest of its code. Every single time I play a game like this with severe aggression and just beat the shit out of the bosses, they're the ones flustering. They don't know what attack pattern to do. They don't know how to read it because they're like, well, why isn't the player running away? What? I don't know if it's just something that I've noticed, but seriously, try playing these games with blatant, out-and-out aggression, and I swear to you, they'll get easier. Because every time I actually try to do a pattern in a boss, like if I have to do it, I'll be able to do it. I'll be able to learn the pattern and everything, but I don't defend. I never defend. There's a reason I don't use shields. I don't do parrying. I find the entire action of waiting to be hit and then countering so boring. It's unbelievable. So it's just the way my brain interprets it of, I'd rather stand there attacking, and if I'm attacking it and taking its health away, it'll die. And if I die first, then I've learned valuable information. I've learned how many attacks I can get in before I have to run away. And that tends to be the way I play bosses like this. I will just keep attacking, keep attacking, keep attacking, and then as soon as I feel like I need to run away, I'll run away. But I don't block, I don't wait and counter and parry, I use my dodge. And that's all Mina is. Mina is burrowing and dodging and attacking. So I just dodge and burrow. And don't get me wrong, things happen like that there. I pushed to burrow, it didn't know it. This is something else that annoyed me with the game. I don't know if it's me, I don't know if it's my controller. There are so many times when I will try to do an action, and the action that I wanted to do is not the action that happens, and that's what gets me killed. And I don't mean in boss fights, I mean, for the most of the game, most of my deaths were in exploration and trying to do jumping puzzles and trying to unlock areas and things like that. The amount of times I died to enemies was very slight. I'd say maybe 20% of my actual deaths were due to enemies, and maybe of those enemies, 10% of those were bosses. Like, I'm trying to say half of that was bosses is what I mean. Because there are a couple of bosses that rinsed me and took 3 or 4 attempts, but for the most part, 1, 2 attempts maximum for each boss. And it's because Mina handles exactly like I like to be able to handle. I've got a dodge mechanic, essentially, in this with a burrow, and I've got an attack button. But the fact that the controls sometimes mess up, there's literally a trinket that you can get that allows you to use this burrow on the wall. And if the wall is also technically something you can burrow under, it gets confused and it doesn't know which one to do. And that action got me killed so many times because I was in an area where I either had to get rid of the wall burrow, or I had to essentially jump so far under. So let's say the wall and the thing is here, like, there were spikes there before, but there's so many railings in this game that you have to simply burrow under. So that would be the railing that I'm burrow undering, that's the wall. I'd have to make sure I'm jumping essentially miles away and then going under. And obviously you don't get a lot of time to do that, so then I would have to use a trinket that would allow me to burrow for even longer. But otherwise, if I jump too close, even though I want to go under, it would think, oh, well, the railing is technically a wall. Do you want a wall grind on it? And there was a section of section of the river world that was constantly killing me like that. And it was, I honestly think it's the worst run back in the entire game. It's like, it was the longest one. It was the one that got me killed the most. And it was purely because the amount of times that it was doing that. But if I'd taken off the trinket that allows me to wall grind, it would have made 3 other parts of it really difficult. So I was in this loop of, I either make that part easier and that part... It was just, yeah. I know I've went on total ADHD tangent here. I truly have done. But I am trying to explain just some little flaws that I have with the game. And as much as I do have all of those little issues, those little problems, those little quirks that... I end up finding the bosses were very similar to Zelda, where you can just stand there and wheel them. I like all of these little things. The game itself is so much of a masterpiece. I don't really care. I would like it if eventually they actually buff the difficulty in this. Like they make it so that I have to engage with the mechanics. I really would. I would like them to be able to implement that, because I don't like just standing there wheeling. But at the same time, I'm playing a game to beat it. And why do I need to put rules on myself? Like, if I was doing a challenge run, then I would put those rules on myself. I've mentioned this in multiple videos before, that I like doing that. I like doing self-imposed challenges. When I replay this, I will do self-imposed challenges. I'm going to need to do it. But on my first playthrough on a game, if it works, it works. That's my mindset. My entire point of putting this on is to enjoy the game, enjoy the medium, enjoy the art, enjoy everything about it, but it is also to beat the game. It is to complete it. It is to prove that I have mastery over it. So if it works, I'm going to do it. I don't intentionally go out of my way to cheese or anything. I don't cheat. And for the most part, that tends to, like, I've got a short. It's the only short I've ever put on my video, and it was when I accidentally discovered a cheese in Silksong, which I think they patched out. I hope they patched it out. That actually cheese robbed me of doing that boss before they nerfed it, because by the time I finally got to it, I never got the ability to fight Morwing properly. So I then had to put a self-imposed challenge of breaking the game to get past it, to get to it earlier than I should do, so I could fight it without any upgrades, just so that I could feel like I had the actual difficulty of it. As wild as that sounds, there's little things like that I will seek out difficulty-wise, but for the most part, if I put the game on, it's to beat it. And I didn't look out, I didn't develop any cheese scenarios for this game. I didn't do anything like that. I just found that I could just stand there and wheel on things. But even with all of those little things, those little problems, as I was saying, to finally circle back, it's brilliant. I love the story that it's telling, and the story's the part that I don't want to delve into here, because as much as I'm saying I'm going to mention some late game stuff and some spoiler stuff, I feel this is the sort of game that a lot of people will not play because of the difficulty. And I know I'm a sicko. I know I am definitely a sicko when it comes to difficulty in games, and I'm someone who doesn't struggle with a lot of stuff. And I've had so many people like take recommendations from me, and I've said, listen, it wasn't hard for me, but like, I do have to preface this. Firstly, you can actually change the difficulty of all of this stuff, so if you do find the default difficulty too difficult, you can actually modify it. If you are into any form of 2D Zelda, I want you to play this game. I think you will really, really enjoy it, and it's why I don't want to actually talk about story spoilers here. I'll just talk about area and mechanic stuff, because that's video game stuff, and you can kind of expect that. Like, I think anyone going into this will have expected there'd be bomb puzzles, you know? So that's why I brought up the bomb puzzle area, because it was something that I found a lot of fun in. And I actually want to go into some clips as well, which I'm going to try to segue into here, because I need to make sure not to open stuff that's got actual story stuff, but I am... Okay, so this is one of the late game bosses that I can actually show a little bit of, where there was a bit of a mechanic. Basically, instead of just standing there wheeling on it, it had 6 things that I had to wheel on, so I had to actually do this, and this one took me a couple of attempts as a result, which I quite enjoyed it. I would like more of that, less of what you've already seen me do, where I'm just standing there wheeling on the likes of Thorn. Love Thorn as a character. Eventually, I might have to do a video where I do talk about the story, but for now, moving on. There's... So, oh, yeah, and I've lost my train of thought again. Hilarious, he was looking at the train. But that is kind of why I wanted to show some of those screenshots. When I can actually find it, this is what I mean by focusing. There's so many moments of just, like, beautiful, breathtaking art, from the little cutscene things that you get to show off areas, to the first time, well, not the first time, I suppose, every time you do a tower, you'll have a moment of Mina is essentially sleeping, or something will happen, or reading a letter. Like, there's so many pieces of jaw-dropping art that's why I was saying all of those little problems just kind of melted away. The area puzzles, the environment, the things that I was doing, the story that I was discovering, all of the stuff like that makes this game an absolute fucking out-and-out masterpiece, and it's why, at the moment, it is my clear current game of the year, even though I have some notable issues, as I say. Elliot could definitely come along and do some of these things better. I think Elliot's combat and bosses might end up being better. I think they'll be nowhere near the environmental depth. I don't imagine the story is going to hit anywhere near that this does, and all of the little secrets and areas to find. So this could turn out to be the one that stays in pole position until the end of the year. I'm really looking forward to a few games this year, but Mina has done something that I never expected. I'm one of the biggest Zelda fans of anyone, because at the end of the day, I credit that franchise to keeping me alive. I truly do. This is up there. This is one of the best Zelda games ever made, and it doesn't go above the be-all, end-all grits. It doesn't go above Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild, Ocarina of Time, Majora. It doesn't go above, like, the 3D grits that I love. Because it's not a 3D game. I don't know if this is taking the place of my favourite 2D Zelda. At this moment in time, that recency bias is definitely a hell of a thing. Everyone knows this. Recency bias is one hell of a thing when it comes to games. But the puzzles that it does, the environments, the storytelling, the music, the art, and the fact that the combat is very capable. It's up there with your old school Castlevanias and your old school Zeldas, where I did just wheel on enemies. The amount of times that I'm standing there wheeling on an enemy with the Vampire Killer as Simon Belmont, or I'm wheeling with the Master Sword. I still love those games. Just because I didn't get the level of depth and combat out of this that I expected, doesn't mean that I still didn't get something that was very reminiscent of games that I adore. And it's why, as much as I do have those little problems, they're minute. They're tiny little problems. If you're going into it expecting that depth of combat, I could understand being disappointed. I was a little bit, but I got so much else out of it that made me think this is one of the greatest 2D Zeldas to ever be made, which I know fine well that might be sounding like I'm being crappy towards the dev or anything. I think if somehow the dev's watching, they'd be happy with that, because they've been very open. This was their Zelda. That was their goal. You've done it. Like, no ifs, ands, or buts. This is a magnificent fucking masterpiece. This is a Link to the Past, Link's Awakening level of quality, of caliber, a Link Between Worlds, Oracle of Ages, Oracle of Seasons. They're all tied up together. You've managed to do something that no other developer has ever done outside of Nintendo. You've made one of the best Zelda games ever made. Everything about this is a masterpiece. I may not have got the combat issue, like the combat that I wanted from it. I may have had little bugs and quirks and issues, but so does fucking Zelda. So does Castlevania. There's so many times, like, Castlevania's a game where you could fucking moonwalk up staircases, even though that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. There's some jank in those games too. And this might get fixed. They might figure out, oh, actually, yeah, that mechanic isn't working quite right like we wanted it to. The game's only just came out. So let's tweak the burrowing so that it doesn't get confused between when you're burrowing on the floor or on a wall. There's so many ways they could actually tweak those little things so that these little problems just become non-existent. There's stuff that they could do to make it so that you have to engage with the mechanics. The problem is, because there's a lot of people out there who find this game really difficult, turning around and saying that they're going to buff all of the bosses would probably be a problem for a lot of people. So I don't know how they fix that, but again, I still had fun fighting them. I still had fun in the boss arenas doing the little things. There were a couple of times when I did have to engage in a mechanic, like there's a boss where you have to set them on fire with lava, essentially, to actually make it so that you could hurt them, which I did figure that out, but you could also still chip away at their energy, and I got close on the first time without engaging in the mechanic. I got close. I got so close to finishing the damn thing off, just standing there attacking. I was so disappointed that 4 or 5 attempts later, when I hadn't got close again, I'd got to the point of, you know what, maybe I should just actually engage in the mechanic and beat this damn thing. And I did. And, yeah. I know fine well I'm waffling. I know fine well there's probably some stuff I forgot to say. But I could honestly say, if this game... I'm not going to say if it wasn't on your radar. It's going to have been on your radar. This is a very notable release of the year. So it's been on your radar. But if it's something that you were scared to interact with, again, embrace accessibility. I've got a video up about that, actually. Go into the options menu, change the modifiers and the assists and that, make it easier or harder for you if you need to. Like, I came so close to wanting to make it harder because of what I've said, but I figure this is something that on my second playthrough I'm going to do some self-imposed stuff, and I'm also going to do some harder stuff. I'm going to make sure to turn off certain trinkets, well, not turn them off, but like refuse to use them, because I will be going through the New Game Plus multiple times. I want 100% this. I want to get every quest done. I want to get every story variant, because I'm assuming the story variants. Obviously, I've only went through it the once, but from the way some things happened, I'm assuming the story variants. I want to go through all of that, and I'll probably replay this so many times, just like I replayed A Link to the Past, just like I replayed Link's Awakening. I want to get to the point where it doesn't matter that the map is absolutely terrible. Seriously, why did you make the map that way? Of all the things, like, that's my only real complaint. People with disabilities exist. People with brain issues exist. not having anywhere at all to open up a map and just look where you were going, or know where you'd left a lock where you had to go back to, or an item, or trying to navigate things like that. That's my actual real complaint. Everything else is minor. It just is. The game's absolutely magnificent. Give it a try. It's well worth the price of admission. I'm going to buy it twice. I can't afford to at the moment, but I will be buying it to play it again on the PC. I don't know if it's got ultra-wide. I don't know if it's got any enhancements or anything. The Switch 2 version runs exceptionally well. I've not had any issues or major glitches or anything like that. Like, there's, as I say, there's little things with the game, but it's nothing that felt like it was a bug or an issue or a limitation of the Switch 2 or anything like that. And the fact that you can play on 120 FPS mode as well is brilliant. So, yeah. I think the dev's worthy of the money. I think the game's worthy of the hype and the praise. And I'm definitely buying it again because I want more of this. And I don't know if we get more. I don't know. Because with Shovel Knight, they kind of set their expectations for DLC kind of sky high with this. So they either have to do no DLC or they have to really up their game. And I don't know how you do that. I genuinely don't. But if this turns out to be the end, if this really is, there's absolutely no DLC, it's just a one and done, the game's still a masterpiece. It's still magnificent. DLC, if anything, can only hurt it, but at the same time, they could give us a new character, like what they did. They could give us new areas. There's so many things. But I'd just take a sequel right now. I want you to make a lot more of these. Shovel Knight, I loved it, but I was done when I was done. Like, I finished it, and I'm like, yeah, I'm content now. I have played this game. I do not need Shovel Knight 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, because obviously Shovel Knight it's the company's Mario, but it's also very much Mega Man-like, and Mega Man got very oversaturated. I'm sorry, but it did. To the point of, Mega Man fans finally got what they wanted, a new Mega Man game, and they were like, oh, it's just like all the others, and it's like, well, yeah, what the fuck were you expecting? Mega Man, there's like 50 of them. I didn't need all of the Shovel Knight expansions or anything. I was happy with the one and done. I want more Mina stuff. I want a lot more Mina stuff. I think the environmental puzzles that they've done in this game, if this was their first attempt at it, everyone knows this stuff gets refined and you do better stuff. And then you see all of the sickos out there and you find out who does the ring puzzle games. Oh, the ring game. I love the ring game. I don't know if I saved video footage, but the ring game, I at least took screenshots, so it should be around here. There we go. This was about my 7th attempt at the ring game. Well, the whole point is you have to burrow, and there's rings around, and I just got under the 5k. And then, oh, I did save some footage, so this is the actual game. This is one of my favourite mini-games in the history of all mini-games. I will play the fuck out of this. I only played 9 attempts. As I say, the just under 5k was about my 8th attempt, and I felt like I was going to do it. And then on my 9th attempt, I started really badly. Like, it was a colossally bad attempt to start with. Actually, I've just realised that was the video of that attempt there. I started really badly. So when I then smashed it by 2 and a bit thousand points by getting 7,000, I was like, okay, yeah, I was not expecting that. I know fine well I can do better. I could easily hit 10k, I think. And I will do, because I'm going to go and play that. It's one of the best mini games I've ever played in anything. It's magnificent. And I know, again, I'm sidetracking. I need to just land the plane now and end the video. I want more Mina stuff. I want them to take their time, obviously. But with all of the stuff that they've built around this, I think you could make a sequel that is something truly exceptional. Because maybe that's just it. Maybe you don't fix these bosses. Maybe you just find out that there's people like me out there who discovered that you can just stand and wheel on your bosses. And maybe for the sequel, you make a lot more end-game bosses than early-game bosses. And give us some absolutely magnificent combat, as well as your absolute genius world design. The puzzles, the different secondaries, being able to do different puzzles, being able to jump different gaps. Again, it's magnificent. Everything about it. And with that, I'm going to finally end this video. There's probably stuff that I forgot. And on a technicality, there might actually be a second video about this going up, because I recorded a first thoughts video type thing of this. And then by the time I've got around to playing it, finishing it, I figured I should just actually do a new video. So maybe that one will have gone up. Maybe I'll watch it again after this and I'll go, you know what, actually it turns out I mentioned all of that in that as well. So maybe there'll be no need for it to go up. But yeah, until next time, I've been Sky Fellowship. I truly do hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye!